Okay, next item, professional services for development of a school and offices on portions of Parcel A, Coral Springs Municipal Complex. Wow, that was quick. You got the floor. You got the floor.
Quick, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, and Mayor on a mobile. It's good to be here with you tonight. Tonight for your consideration is a contract with PGA Incorporated for the design of the Coral Springs Charter School. Ian Nestler, who's a principal of PGAL, is in the audience, and he'd be available at the end if there's any questions about PGAL. We also have our great principal, Gary Springer, in the audience, and then our athletic director, Mike Higgins, who is an exceptional athletic director over there. Tonight, we'll be going over some background and kind of talking about why is this even a project, why are we even talking about it. We'll go over aspects of the project and then next steps. Our strategic plan has 5 goals, and those goals are to be a responsible city government, an investment in today and the future, downtown becoming vibrant, growing the local economy, and being the premier community in South Florida. And with these goals, the commission developed strategic projects that gave us the direction of items to work on that were the most important to the commission. And it's no surprise that the charter school relocation was a project that rose to the top as an initiative for us to consider. It's also one of the only projects that actually touches every goal and enhances each goal that's a priority for us. Now, let's talk about why this is an important project. Why even have a charter school? Why move the charter school if you decide to have one? And lastly, the question I hear from time to time, why should I even care? Why my kids don't go there, this doesn't benefit me, why should I care? So before we do that, let's just take a little trip down memory lane. For y'all that have been here a long time, this will may look familiar, but you'll remember the boom time in Coral Springs where houses were being built quicker than you can count them. And schools were being built as fast as possible and couldn't keep up with the demand of that development. And you'll also recall that about 20 years ago, the commission made the bold decision to renovate an abandoned mall to build a charter school, a municipal charter school, to meet the needs of the community. That decision was made, and the school had a couple rough years to start off with. It wasn't always smooth, but you give them about 2 years, and they've been an A school ever since, with the exception of, I think, 2003. Is that right, Principal? 2003, that's the loan year. The charter school, municipal charter school, has been around for 20 years, and they're actually celebrating 20 years this year. Then you're going to go into the 2000s. The city continued to prosper. 2012 and 2013 were banner years with every one of our high schools being A-rated. You're also, now let's fast forward to today. We remain the community of choice for families. We are a family community. We have everything under the sun. We have parks and recreation amenities that are vast and comprehensive. We're clean and beautiful community, a city hall that represents the quality of the city and our great residents. But we all know that the 2 critical factors for people when they decide where they're going to live is whether it's a safe city and the quality of the schools. And we obviously have a very, very safe city. Our residents feel safe. Our surveys show that. Our crime rate data will also show that we are a very, very safe community. We also have very strong schools, but you will notice that we have seen a downward trend in the ratings of our high schools over the last several years, and that is something that we obviously monitor. And whenever you're a 3, 4, and 5 bedroom community, it's something that as a city should be a focal point. Now you're thinking, well, that was a long way to go to get to why the charter school, but it provides the context of 20 years ago, the commission had the difficult decision to go obtain a charter for a municipal school to meet the needs of the public. And here we are 20 years later, needing to make a decision whether we want to do that, really again for different reasons. Now, first things first, why? Well, why have a charter school? And the clearest answer is this school is a huge asset to our city. It is our school. It has been A-rated for 15 years. It is a leader in our region. Another thing is our students and our teachers deserve a new school. They're in a building that has a leak all the time in the roof. We're bringing temporary chillers out there so that we can provide air conditioning so the kids can continue school. We're in a facility to where any significant hurricane comes by, those kids are going to struggle to finish their education there. So they also deserve a school that is safe with everything going on in the world now, and a school that meets the technological needs of our kids. We also have over 2,000 kids on the waiting list. And the majority of those are Coral Springs residents that are on the waiting list. So here we are 20 years later, needing to make a decision just like we had to make 20 years ago. And just like 20 years ago, we do not have a perfect location. 20 years ago, we used an abandoned mall. It wasn't the best situation, but it was, it's worked out great for us for the last 20 years. And so here we are 20 years later, need to make a decision. We're looking at the feasibility along the perimeter of Mullins Park that we'll go into a little bit later. It's not the perfect location either, but does have a lot of benefits over the current location. And then kind of the last question is, why should anybody care about this if they don't have a kid that goes there? And it's actually very, very simple to answer. We're a community of 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes. People choose to live here because of the school system. And when you go to sell your house, you're going to want your value to be high, and the reason your value will be high is because of the quality of your schools. And so the quality of your schools is directly and correlated to the quality of your schools. And so really, this is an investment to protect the residential investment of all of our residents in their homes. So let's go into the aspects of the project. It would be to, we're looking at relocating to the perimeter of Mullins Park. We still have a lot of work to do. I'll get into that before we can even make a recommendation to the commission. We want to build on the current success of the charter school. It's a leader in our region, but we have bigger ambitions for it. We believe it could be a leader in the state, which it already is, but we believe it could be a nationally premier school. We also have plans to expand the enrollment to meet the needs of our residents that want to get into their municipal charter school. So that's part of the plans as well. Also to co-locate the Charter Schools USA headquarters into the facility. This will enable us to have the latest and greatest technology, the best resources. It will provide for the highest level of innovation in this school, and will give us a great chance to meet our goal of being nationally elite with that. Now, we also have to mitigate traffic concerns. That's the number one issue. If you drive around any of our schools right now, that's probably the number one issue where our current charter school is an issue. So this map right here, just kind of, you can see Mullins Park there, Royal Palms on the south, and Coral Springs Drive going north and south, and Ben Geiger to the north of this. These two locations are the locations we're looking at that we've done some initial feasibility work, but obviously have more work to do. And and one of the things we're looking at from a traffic standpoint is we have over 1 mile of roadways within Mullins Park. And that is a lot of space that if you spend any time in Mullins Park at the time that school is getting in and out, it is not a peak time for the park, but it's a unique opportunity to use a mile of roadway that's underutilized during these periods of times for getting the kids to the school, also doing staggered start times. But this is a great opportunity that really we don't have anywhere else, and it was something that we kind of, whenever we were doing our traffic analysis, saw as a great opportunity for this site. And then we also believe that this can enhance Mullins Park. So with this, we could add artificial fields that would add to the usability of Mullins Park, we would want to do that because it is going to have athletic use from Coral Springs Charter School already uses it a lot, but it will have more, so we would look at that investment. The other thing is it would add 2 gymnasiums in close proximity to our current gym. So when we have our large tournaments that bring people in to eat in our restaurants and stay in our hotels and spend their money here, gives us more opportunities with that as well. I do need to make it clear that this project is funded exclusively by state funding and by charter school revenues. So this isn't tax dollars from residents from their ad valorem taxes. This is state revenues that we receive, and we receive it for the per student. And then also the sale of charter school property that the school has paid while they have been in that location. And so with the project tonight that we're talking about, it'll be finalizing the feasibility through the schematic design so that we can have something to recommend. Because at this point, as you well know, we're taking it slowly, we're taking it piece by piece. We want to make sure that we have all the information so the commission can make the best decision. And so the next step in that is to authorize the contract and take it to the schematic design phase, which will tell us, it'll show where it's going to be, what it's going to look like, how many students, how the traffic patterns are going to work, what's the cost going to be, all those key aspects that you need to be able to make a decision that you do not have at this time. So next steps are to, if the commission approves the contract tonight, begin schematic design immediately and be able to get that done as soon as possible. Finalize the traffic plan, the parking plan. Those are key components of a project like this. Continue working with our stakeholders. We've been meeting with our stakeholders throughout this process, and we'll have more in-depth meetings now that we will have more information. We would anticipate coming back to the commission in December, January with an update on the feasibility. And if the project is feasible, we would begin design, and then ultimately the commission would have all the information they need to make a decision on whether or not to relocate the charter school to this location. So our recommendation is to approve the contract with PGAL, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. We also have Ian from PGAL that can answer any questions about their firm. It was a competitive selection process where we had a panel of employees that did very thorough interviews, and they rose to the top. They're currently doing Aventuras School and have experience all over the country doing this. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Commissioner Vinole, you had a question?
I don't have questions, but I'd like to make some comments. One, I wish we didn't have to have a need for the charter school. I really wish there was no need for the charter school, and our public schools took care of every issue in education for our children. However, here in Broward County, I don't think that's the case. And just to give everyone an idea, it's been 737 days since a person went ahead and brought a gun onto school at Coral Springs High School's campus. It's been 1,442 days since the voters of Broward County went ahead and gave them the funds to create a single point of entry. It's still not done at Coral Springs High School. Meanwhile, at Coral Springs Charter School, in the course from February 14th, which was what, August 15th or whatever, it was completed. So for our residents to have that type of stuff and to bring the professionalism that our city staff brings into the education system for our residents is unmatched. And so I know people sit there and they're anti-charter school, this, that. I'm anti-charter school, I am. I'm not anti the municipal charter school. I think it's different. I think we do things differently here as a community, everything from our police and fire departments, public works, you name it. I think we bring a different feel to the way it's done, and our partnership with Charter Schools USA is unmatched. And like you said, the school's owned by us. So people that sit there and think, oh, why are you giving up space in a park for another company? It's our school. It's our school, and we've made millions off of it. We've made a lot of money off of the school over the years. Money that we can use to go ahead and help fund SROs in other schools and things. This was always set up to be a temporary home, and here we are again with another project in Coral Springs that's preventing downtown from moving forward. And it was supposed to be a temporary facility. We saw that. We saw what the cost was on waiting too long with this facility, right? If the city did this project 20 years ago, what was the cost difference going to be, right? I mean, you think about how different our city would be. The opportunity to bring the headquarters in for Charter Schools USA, that's amazing. And to bring in their employees, obviously, want to live closer. And I think these school will be something that'll be a model for other schools throughout the country. I've heard people asking, questions about the lottery and the percentage of Coral Springs residents. Not all Coral Springs residents. Absolutely, it's not all Coral Springs residents. One of the things that I'm proud of that the commission did was, as a recruitment tool, we went ahead and allowed our employees to be bumped up on that list, and it's a recruitment tool for our employees. We know our employees are underpaid here in the city. We get excellent use out of our employees. They do a great job. Well, this is a nice way to give back to them and to allow their kids to come here. So when they go ahead and they come to work, they drop their kids off over there. The kids can go ahead and walk on over here, and I think that's something that's pretty awesome. Also, the school's employees. So people out there in the community saying, oh, it's not 100% Coral Springs residents. Well, yeah, I mean, if a teacher works there, and I have a friend who's a teacher at the school, and she's from Pembroke Pines, but her kid goes to school there. And I think that's right, and that happens at every school. My kids reassigned to a school that my wife teaches at a traditional Broward public school. Sitting there and talking about losing parks and parking space, well, okay, we're not losing parks. We're not losing parking spaces. We're gonna, the way I think it's gonna be done when we're all said and done is, we'll make sure it does enough parking. Parking won't change. The people that are complaining about the parking and stuff for the soccer fields and all that, that parking lot was created, my first commission meeting, 8 years ago, almost to the day, right? It was about 8 years ago. That used to be a BMX track. And then, we can go ahead and we can find our ways to go ahead and make it, maneuver it, whatever. And I've heard people sit there and say, you're giving up, space within a park, and and yeah, we've done that before, and we've done it for schools. We've done it at the Sportsplex, right? We've given up park space out over there for Coral Glades High School. We've done it for, I believe, Eagle Ridge Elementary. Was Paul Britton Park, that was all part of that. Parkside, right across the street from Mullins Park. People from Parkside that complain, why would you put the school there? Well, that was supposed to be a part of Mullins Park too. That was another piece across the street that was done, and this city has always made education a priority. And we've done those things historically, not us, for years. When we talk about downtown, right? Well, we know something's happening next door. Do we want to go ahead and have to wait longer for another piece to happen? I mean, I've had developers meet with me, and they want that space. Now, I'm sure that the same thing has happened to everybody else here. This gives us opportunity to go ahead and do that. I was at the school this morning, and I know people complain about, yeah, I have 2 kids that go to school there, and my wife's a teacher, and I could put them in the other schools around here. And I don't. I choose to have my kids at Coral Springs Charter School. And there's a reason for that. And I think what Mr. Springer does at that school and the staff that he does is unmatched. And I think it's a great thing. And the biggest complaints you get from people, all the biggest complainers I always hear, and I always ask them, what year did your kids apply? And then they laugh. And they did apply to the school. And this would give an opportunity to make the school bigger, will give this school an opportunity to have more of our residents. And I've made it clear before, I think eventually as a city, we should do all our middle and high schools should be charter schools. I don't think we're getting the support from the Broward County schools to do what our residents demand in education, and our property values are hurting because of it. So, and it's nothing against our principals and our teachers here, whatever. I don't think they're given the resources, and that's a thing with that. But this morning when I was there, I saw a motorcycle officer, and I asked him, I see him out there all the time, about how many tickets you give out, when you're out here, 1, 2, and he goes, every morning, 7 to 8 tickets. So this is one of the busiest intersections in Broward County. We have a school there with children, and they're crossing roads, and we're giving out 7 to 8 tickets. And while they're doing that, they're not stopping everybody that goes by. So how many people are speeding? Right? And when you have children going around, that's dangerous. That's a very, very dangerous situation. And I think by expanding the school and making it bigger, you really talk about property values. And the partnership that I think we're going to create here with Charter Schools USA, because I think we're going to do this the right way, I think this is going to make something that's really going to put us on the map. I really, really do. I think this school will be something that every other school, not just charter schools, I think every other school around is going to come and take a look at and say, this is something special. I would like to make the motion, and however, I know everyone else wants to speak too. I have more comments, but I think you have the way I feel.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think
I do have some questions I would like to ask, but before I ask it, I'd like to have everybody do their comments.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm grateful for Commissioner Rignola's comments. I think they state the facts. But what I just want a clarification. Approving this tonight, that we're approving a feasibility study to see if it's feasible, and this is including the people who are going to be affected by our decision.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, you had a comment?
It's not a comment. I'd like to have some points, at least have an exclamation point after it. First of all, Mr. Goodrum, can you tell the citizens of Coral Springs, are any of our tax dollars from Coral Springs going to be put into this particular project, other than what we get back from the state anyway?
Mayor, no. In fact, the charter school has a significant fund balance from state revenues because we've known obviously for some time that this was needed. So we have fund balance that's funding this work, and then any revenue that bonds that would be issued would not be towards our debt. It would be based on state revenue that we receive from the state per student.
All right. If I can continue, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
One of the biggest problems I had with the project about 4 years ago was traffic. And I want to have the assurance that this feasibility study will in fact get into the traffic flow so we don't have a backup at the beginning of the day or the end of the day such that the kids are missing classes or even people are missing times from their jobs. Do we have that assurance?
Yes, sir, Mayor. So whenever we finish with this aspect of it, you would have a full traffic study, full parking study, parking plan. You would have all that so that you can make a decision whether or not it's what you want to move forward with.
All right. Follow up again. One of the things that I have heard from citizens is they're afraid that the city is giving away our museum and our theater. Is that true?
No, Mayor, it is not true. It would be incorporated with those. We would anticipate the performing arts venue being a shared facility during its non-peak time. Our charter school has an exceptional performing arts program that we could see some benefits of them working together, but this does not displace either one of those aspects.
And do you see this as an enhancement to our community as far as the entertainment that we have been providing our citizens? And will that continue?
Yeah, Mayor, and I've met with the performing arts venue, and I've met with Lynn Singleton, and they do not see this as a negative. This will not take away from the quality of acts. It will not reduce the number of performances. If we can find a way to enhance the performing arts venue as a part of this, we'd obviously look for ways to do that, but it will not take away any of those aspects.
And finally, my question, so everybody understands, is the placement of the school, I believe 4 or 5 years ago, is not the placement that you are anticipating or your designers are anticipating using to make this a building which we will be proud of as citizens of Coral Springs.
Yes, sir. I believe the previous plans had the need for structured parking and other types of things. At this point, we do not anticipate any of those needs. We anticipate 2 different facilities, which I believe the last time it was 1. By having the 2 different facilities, we're able to better provide for the students and have better facilities at the school.
And I'm a lawyer, so I get to say that was my last question, but I just want to enhance on what Commissioner Carter said. This is merely a feasibility study, and I want everybody to know, until we know that this is a good project for all of Coral Springs, this is not a vote to go ahead, it's a vote to make sure or to see should we go ahead.
Right. Yeah, Mayor, I see this as I need to be able to have the right information to provide to you so that I can make a recommendation, which I'm not at the point I don't have that information yet, and so that you can have everything you need to make a decision. And I'm recommending this contract because I need this contract to be able to get to that point.
I said last one, that you just mentioned something. None of the dollars that are being spent on this particular contract are coming from city money. Is that correct?
They're not coming from our ad valorem taxes. The charter school is a component fund of our overall budget, but it's not coming from any of our traditional municipal revenues.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, ma'am.
Vice Mayor, I have, City Manager Goodrum, I have one more question. So one of the complaints that I hear on a regular basis is on our traffic studies that they're not done at the comparable hours or the right days. So, you know, I work in the building next to the charter school, so I know what the bad times are. So if the times could be comparable for those neighborhoods, I think that would be a fair comparison. Okay.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Mike, I am hearing people, and I've had people walk up to me in the last week, I hear you're moving to charter school. Oh, you guys voted to move to charter school. No, we have not made any decisions. What we're talking about tonight has already been discussed. You did an eloquent job. What we're trying to do is lay out all the possibilities, and then we'll make a decision. But it's just, people have to understand, these things don't happen without a little bit of work. This is a major move, so we're going to do some major, some major research into it, okay? Any other comments?
So, just to clarify what the manager has said and everyone has said, this is a two-phase contract, and that first phase is the feasibility study, and only if, at that point, the feasibility study goes forward, with the manager making that determination, can move forward with the architectural, but that phase one happens first, and it needs to be determined to be feasible.
That's it? What are
Second.
comments?
Sorry.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by,
No, Larry moved it, I
oh,
seconded it.
Larry, okay.
Larry moved it.
I seconded it.
Seconded, okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimous.